The icy November wind howled through the narrow alleyways of the city, carrying with it the bitter scent of rain and exhaust fumes. Tom Miller, a 55-year-old homeless veteran, huddled beneath a tattered wool blanket outside an abandoned storefront, his breath fogged in the frigid air as he adjusted the straps of his worn backpack, a bag that carried all he owned in the world. Life hadn't always been this way for Tom. Once, he was a decorated soldier, a man of honor and discipline. He had worn the uniform of the United States Army with pride, serving multiple tours overseas. But after his return, the battles didn't end. PTSD, job loss, and a series of cruel twists of fate left him without a home, without a family, and nearly without hope. Yet even in the darkness of his circumstances, Tom clung to a quiet dignity. He never begged aggressively, never stole. He survived by doing odd jobs, collecting recyclables, and keeping his honor intact, even when the world turned its back. One rainy afternoon, as Tom searched for cans near a bustling upscale cafe, something glittered in the storm drain beside the curb. At first, he thought it was a shard of glass reflecting the gray sky. But when he crouched down, heart quickening, he realized it was something far more valuable, a diamond ring. The stone sparkled brilliantly despite the mud and grime. A ring like this could change everything. He could pawn it for thousands, enough to buy food for months, maybe even get off the streets. For the first time in years, Tom felt a surge of possibility. But along with that possibility came an old familiar weight. His moral code. Would he keep it, sell it, and finally escape the cold nights on the sidewalk? Or would he return it to its rightful owner, whoever they might be? Someone who probably had far more than he ever would? Tom's choice that day would ignite a chain of events no one in the city could have predicted. What the ring's owner did next would not only change Tom's life, but would shock everyone who heard the story. The day the diamond ring appeared was a day like many others for Tom Miller. Gray skies, the bite of cold rain, and a familiar ache of hunger. His boots, the same pair he had worn for years, squelched in the puddles as he shuffled through an alley near 5th and Main, the wealthier side of the city. He was searching for aluminum cans and bottles, anything that could be exchanged for a few dollars at the recycling center. The sound of traffic roared behind him, but he worked with quiet efficiency, the way a soldier might scan a battlefield. Then something bright caught his eye. At first, he thought it was broken glass, a dangerous sparkle half hidden beneath the grate of a storm drain. But when he crouched closer, his breath hitched. Resting against the damp metal was a delicate gold band crowned with a diamond the size of a marble. Even through the mud, it shone like a captured star. Tom carefully lifted it with his calloused fingers. It was heavier than expected, the diamond perfectly cut. He had seen rings in shop windows before, but never anything like this. He turned it over, inspecting the engraving inside the band. To Clara, with all my heart. His mind immediately went to its value. A ring like this could fetch thousands, maybe tens of thousands. Enough to buy a used car. Enough to rent a small apartment. Enough to eat warm meals for months without worrying where the next one would come from. For a man who hadn't slept in a bed for years, it was an almost unimaginable fortune. But then another thought settled in. Someone out there was missing this ring. Someone loved enough to receive such a treasure. Someone heartbroken right now. Tom closed his eyes and whispered to himself, "Don't do it, soldier. Not this way." That night, Tom sat beneath the awning of a shuttered bakery, the ring wrapped in a scrap of cloth. The city lights flickered like distant stars as he weighed his options. He could sell it. No one would know. Jewelers often asked no questions. He could finally escape the endless cycle of shelters and street corners. But the lessons drilled into him during his years in the Army echoed in his mind. Honor, integrity, duty. Even after the war, even after society forgot him, those words never left. His stomach growled violently, a cruel reminder of reality. He hadn't eaten since morning, and the few coins in his pocket wouldn't buy more than a cup of stale coffee. He thought of his fellow veterans, men who'd lost battles not on foreign soil, but in the quiet war back home. "Am I any different if I take this?" he muttered. Tom stared at the cloth bundle until the first light of dawn painted the sky. When he finally rose, stiff and cold, he knew his decision. He would return it, Somehow, he would find the owner. Tom's first step was a cafe near where he found the ring. He approached the counter, drawing curious stares from the morning crowd. His worn coat dripped with rainwater, and his beard was unkempt, but his eyes were steady. "Excuse me," he said to the barista, holding out the ring in its cloth. "Did anyone report something like this lost?" The young woman's eyes widened. "Oh my God, that's wow. No, sir, but you should probably take it to the police." Tom nodded politely. "Thank you." At the precinct, he explained where he found it. The officer behind the desk, a man young enough to be his son, raised an eyebrow. "You found this?" "Yes, sir." "And you're bringing it here?" "It doesn't belong to me." The officer studied him for a long moment before finally taking the ring and logging it as evidence. "We'll put out a notice. If someone claims it, we'll need proof of ownership." Tom left the station with mixed feelings, relief, but also a strange emptiness. He'd done the right thing, but it didn't fill the ache in his stomach or the cold in his bones. Word traveled quickly in the neighborhood. By the next day, people in the cafe were whispering about the homeless veteran who had turned in a diamond ring instead of pawning it. Some praised his honesty. Others shook their heads in disbelief. "Crazy," one businessman muttered. "I have sold it and never looked back." But a young mother, holding her child's hand, said softly, "That's a real hero." Tom heard fragments of these conversations as he passed by. He didn't care for attention. All he wanted was a hot meal and a warm place to sleep. Yet something inside him stirred, an old pride he hadn't felt in years. 2 days later, a woman in her early 40s walked into the precinct. Her name was Clara Whitman, a well-known philanthropist and CEO of a luxury jewelry brand. Her eyes were red from crying as she clutched a small velvet box. Inside was the matching wedding band to the diamond ring. The engraving inside confirmed her claim. "This ring belonged to my late husband," she explained to the officer. "It's the last gift he gave me before he passed. I thought I'd lost it forever." The officer smiled. "Ma'am, you're in luck." A man turned it in. Clara's eyes widened. "Who?" "A homeless veteran. Name's Thomas Miller." Clara's breath caught. A veteran? She insisted on meeting him. The officer arranged for Tom to return to the station. When he walked in, his boots leaving wet prints on the tile floor, Clara rose from her seat. "You found my ring?" she said, voice trembling. Tom nodded politely. "Ma'am, I just did what anyone should do." Clara clasped her hands together. "No, most wouldn't. This ring, it's priceless to me. It's all I have left of my husband." Her eyes filled with tears as she stepped forward. "Thank you, from the bottom of my heart." Tom shifted awkwardly. "Just glad it's back where it belongs." Clara insisted on offering him a reward, but Tom shook his head. "I didn't do it for money." His quiet dignity stunned her. Few people refuse generosity, especially those in need. Despite his refusal, Clara was determined to help. The next morning, she tracked him down at the shelter where he sometimes stayed. "Mr. Miller," she said warmly, "I run a foundation that supports veterans. We provide housing, job training, and counseling. I'd like you to join our program." Tom hesitated. Pride warred with need. But Clara's kindness broke through the walls he'd built over years of hardship. "All right," he finally said, his voice soft. "I'll try." Within weeks, Tom had a small apartment, access to therapy, and a job assisting at Clara's jewelry company, where his military discipline and honesty made him an invaluable employee. Months later, Clara invited Tom to a gala hosted by her foundation. Under the glittering chandeliers of the grand ballroom, she took the stage and told the story of the homeless veteran who returned her lost diamond ring. When she called Tom to join her, the room erupted in applause. Soldiers in uniform saluted him. Guests rose to their feet. Tom stood tall, wearing a clean suit donated by the foundation. His eyes scanned the crowd, strangers who now looked at him with admiration rather than pity. He gave a small, humble bow. "I only did what was right," he said into the microphone. "But if this reminds anyone that honor still matters, then it was worth it." The audience cheered, some with tears in their eyes. As the months passed, Tom found purpose again. He became a mentor for other veterans, sharing his story of resilience and integrity. The man who once slept in alleys now helped others find their way back from despair. Clara remained a close friend, often reminding him, "That ring didn't just bring me hope, it brought you back to life." And Tom, standing beneath a warm spring sun, would smile quietly and reply, "Maybe the real treasure wasn't the ring at all. Maybe it was a second chance." The city that once ignored a homeless veteran now celebrated him as a symbol of honor and redemption. Tom never sought fame or fortune. He simply did the right thing when no one was watching. But his single act of honesty created a ripple that changed lives, his own, Claire's, and countless others who heard his story. The lost diamond ring had found its way home, and in the process, so had Thomas Miller. Let Tom's journey remind us all that integrity is priceless, and kindness can turn even the darkest nights into mornings of hope. Glowing Star, if this story inspired you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so more people can witness the power of doing what's right, even when no one is looking.